Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you what is, in my opinion, wait till the end of the video before you start going to the comments, by the way. This is, in my opinion, the best way of playing the new Rolad deck, this format, genuinely. Introducing Rolad Mitsurugi Azamina. Oh man, I don't know about this, Yugioh. Who is there? Get good! So, I just want to make it clear that I'm not trolling or trying to clickbait when I'm saying I genuinely think this might be the best way of playing the deck. I've been testing this deck like crazy, and what is so powerful about it, what is so strong about it, is not just the fact it can put up a pseudo FTK board going first, because if we're being honest, I think a lot of decks, if not most of the decks in the format, the tiered decks, they pretty much put up an FTK board going first anyway. That in isolation doesn't make a deck strong, or certainly doesn't make a deck in contention to be the best way of playing any given deck. What makes this so powerful is the amount of pushes the deck can make, because any Mitsurugi starter is combo for both Azamina and Rolad, as well as Mitsurugi. Any Azamina starter is combo for both Mitsurugi and Rolad. Any Rolad starter is combo for both Azamina and for Mitsurugi. All the engines all bridge into each other. So particularly when you go in second, and that for me is what separates the good decks from the great decks, this format. When you go in second, you can just push and push and push. And think of the amount of times you've played a deck where you go in second and you're just one push away from either A, breaking the board, or B, you've managed to break the board, but if you just had one more push, you'd be able to finish the game and kill them on the spot. But instead, it takes your entire hand, you break the board, you pass turn, and then their follow-up just murders you turn 3. And you're just thinking, if I just had one more push, I would have won that game. This deck just always seems to have that one more push, and every push the deck can make is a very high quality push, because like I said, everything bridges into everything. So if we take a look at the starters, now I will say this is a version of the build I'm testing, which has 26 true starters. Now, Celtic Mystic, I'm 50-50 on this card at the minute. I'm just testing it. This was a second copy of Aramasa. If you wanted to put Aramasa to 3, you could. I think 3 Aramasa in a 60-card build. Nothing wrong with that. And it just bumps up your starters. Foolish Burial is an interesting card. I'm testing this out at the minute as well, because you can send the Skull Archfiend of Chaos. Skull Archfiend of Chaos sends a Mitsurugi Mirror, and then you grab yourself a habakiri. So this is effectively an additional habakiri, or it's a way to get into your big fusions if your plays get stopped. So that's part of what makes this deck so strong. It's how versatile it is. So say, for example, Ragged Record of Rights, pre-prep. When you're activating this card, you could be going into either engine, and your opponent doesn't know which engine you're going for. If you activate the Ragged Record, it's not like your opponent then knows, that means what? You could be going for this, could be going for this. It makes it difficult for your opponent to know what your intentions are. And of course, whatever it is you grab gets you everything anyway. And that's the beauty of the deck. So just to address any concerns over consistency, let's just go through it. So you've effectively got 10 and 11 copies of Habakiri there. Every single one of these cards is full combo for all 3 engines. So you've got 3 Wanted, you've got 3 Diabellstar, 2 Deception. Any single one of those cards is full combo for all 3 engines. You've got the Saji, you've got the Aramasa, you guessed it, full combo for all 3 engines. You've got Black Chaos, you've got Griffo, and would you believe it, full combo for all 3 engines. So this is 26 out of 60 at the minute. You've then got your engine requirements, which are also kind of pseudo starters. So things like Skull Archfiend of Chaos, if it's sent to the graveyard for Diabellstars, it's not a cost, but you understand what I mean. So Diabellstar sends Skull Archfiend of Chaos to the graveyard. You go Chainlink 1, Skull Archfiend, Chainlink 2, Diabellstar, and then you have just chain blocked your Habakiri Searcher. Cards like Futsu, cards like Murakumo, you don't really want to draw normally, but then because of Deception of Simple Spoils, there's an argument for putting this to 3 for that reason, to be honest, because it is full combo. But if you tribute, because look here, you can tribute one monster from your hand or field, so that is a tribute. Which means if you attribute this to search for your Hallowed Azamina, you go in full combo for your Deception, as well as searching habakiri in the process. So even if this gets ashed in a new chain, you search habakiri and you go full combo anyway. So even cards which normally aren't great to draw could suddenly become actually quite good to draw. Now, because it's 60 cards, we do need to be careful with our non-engine. So we're not playing hand traps per se. Ash Blossom is just basically there to stop the Charmies. We don't actually care about Fuwalos. If we want to go full combo slot, we care about Fuwalos, but we can just do ritual plays, and let's face it, if you do ritual plays, so your board is basically everything that Mitsurugi can do and everything Rolad can do, and you've maybe got a Fallen and the Virtuous and an Ash in reserve, then you survive in the next turn, aren't you? Let's face it, that's hardly a bad board. So Fuwalos, we don't mind too much. Pirellia is actually a bit more annoying. So you've got the Ash, just to stop the Charmies. Not because you necessarily need to stop the Charmies, if I'm being honest. But let's face it, if you Ash a Fuwalos, and that was their early interaction, 9 times out of 10, you're winning the game, aren't you, regardless of whichever deck you're playing, let's be honest. And then we've got the draw, which is the same kind of idea. We can't be packing our deck full of 1-for-1 hand traps. So what we need is high impact hand traps that affect the board they're going to make. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, well, even if I get Fuwalos, I can still put up interactions. And they're kind of missing the point. This deck included, right? They hit you with Fuwalos. You're still putting up interactions. But now our opponent is only playing into 4 interactions instead of 8, maybe. And it's the same the other way around. People say, oh, well, anyway, if I get hit with Fuwalos, I can just do this and put up a 4 interaction board while only giving 1 draw. So Fuwalos is rubbish against my deck. They're kind of missing the point. Because if not for the Fuwalos, they would have put up 8 interactions, wouldn't they? So the Fuwalos means you're playing into 4 interactions rather than 8. And I don't know about you, I would rather play into 4 interactions any day of the week than 7, 8 interactions. So Fuwalos never does nothing. If it resolves, it stops them getting carried away and just going full combo. Same kind of idea for Purulia, depending on the deck. If the deck isn't great, or if Purulia isn't great against that deck, at a minimum, Purulia always replaces itself, and then hopefully you draw into a second copy of the Fuwalos. We've got Crossout and Called By, because Droll is pain against this deck. You absolutely don't ever want to be Drolled. And we need Spot Removal, so you've got 3 Fallen and the Virtuous. So we're playing a very, very heavy engine count, an engine package, and our only non-engine is the super impactful stuff. Basically, in the extra deck, you've got our Fallen and Virtuous Enablers, because a self-replacing Spot Removal, very important this format for dealing with Mind Shuffle, for dealing with our rituals. Obviously in the mirror, you do want a way to target and get rid of these very annoying and sticky boss monsters. We've got Rasiliago and we've got Sylvia as the only 2 Azamina monsters. We're not playing Dragoon. We don't really have room for it, to be honest. Technically you could, but I just don't want to introduce Gaze into the deck. I think if I was playing at locals, I probably would have Dragoon, just because it's Dragoon, isn't it? But if I was playing more competitively, then I wouldn't have the Gaze and Dragoon package. Relinquish Anima, because we do need a level 1. You could argue Fallen Karibo, also Lingaribo, but that would be incorrect, because there's certain combo lines where Relinquished Anima, being a level 1 spellcaster specifically, is actually quite relevant because of Celine. You've got your Protect Code Talker, Firewall Dragon, Zena, Charmer Quartet, and Celine as your Link Climb combo slot. Sorry, Cross Sheep there as well, is your Link Climbing slot combo slot package. If you're not familiar with this line yet, then you will be soon, but I think most people have seen how these cards interact with Azamina Rolad for now. And then you've got Reprodicus, again, combo slot enabler. This is how you get from Mitsurugi into everything else. SP, because it's SP. And then finally, you've got your Access Code Talker, because, again, it's a link climbing deck, or can be a link climbing deck, and being able to punch for game, when there's an opening, just being able to, whack them with a 5300, sometimes more, to be honest, because sometimes you're linking off a higher link value card. A lot of the time, though, it is the Celine, so 5300 plus whatever else is on the board. Very, very good for closing out games. Side deck, it's up in the air for now, but I'm mainly happy with this. So you've got your Purification, which is a side card. Obviously, you don't really want to main this. Solemn, you got your Solemn package, right? Judgment and 2 Accusations. Spell Canceller, because we can make a Spell Canceller going first. Game 1, we're still FTKing without Spell Canceller, I'll be honest, if we win the dice roll. Kaijus are incredibly important in this format. You have to be on Kaijus. And if your deck really needs its normal summon to play and can't play without normal summoning, then yeah, rough format for you basically, because the amount of toxic end boards that are ending on Diabell, Spell Canceller, etc., you need a Kaiju just to put that first crack in the board so you can actually start playing the game. There's a absolutely broken Kaiju coming out, which is going to just be a 3 of in every single side deck. But for now, I think 2 and 2 is nice. You can just go for 3 if you want to. Because we're on a 60 card deck though, I think 4 is correct. Possibly even higher, depending. Because you do want to see a Kaiju. Or you do want a good odds of seeing the Kaiju coupled with these 6 Charmies. Lightning Storm and Feather Duster, because we want spell and trap removal to get rid of back row, going second. I've gone for 2 Pots of Sloth and a Thrust, rather than 3 Pots of Sloth, just because the Storm and the Feather Duster are thrust targets as well. So it's nice to have an additional thrust to target. If you're going first and you want to go with thrust, obviously the Purification is a thrust target. And then finally, this is a bit of a flex spot. IP Masquerader for when you're going first, because there's certain combo lines where it's really nice, basically, and you can do some tricksy stuff involving IP Masquerena and the Charmer Quartet to reset the Charmer Quartet. But in all honesty, you could probably just leave this, put something else there. But this is the main bulk of the deck, basically. This is the kind of theory behind it. It's a very, very heavy engine deck. Everything combos into everything. It's a lot more consistent than you would think a combination of these engines would be. Let me show you some of the combos. So we're going to start with, how can we turn any Mitsurugi starter into everything? We're not going to start with Habakiri though, because that feels like cheating. Habakiri is limited, and starting with a limited card that just so happens to be one of the best combo starters ever printed in Yu-Gi-Oh! It just doesn't really explain much about how the deck works, because it's a limited card. Prayers, on the other hand, is a 3 of. Not only that, it's one of the worst ways to start your plays, because starting with Prayers means we don't have access to Prayers as part of our combo line. So this is me showing you what can happen if you draw or open with one of the worst Mitsurugi starters. So do bear that in mind. This isn't me showing you the kind of best version. I'm showing you a suboptimal starter and how that can still get us into absolutely everything. This is less about me trying to teach you the exact combo line and more of a case of showing you what's possible, because once you understand the concepts and the theories, you can take this for a spin, put your own flavour on it. Anyway, we start with Press. We're going to add a Mitsurugi monster, which will be Habakiri, of course. Move into the main phase, reveal Habakiri. So many people scoop when you reveal Habakiri, by the way. They just scoop on the spot. Saji, tribute the Saji, trigger effect of Saji to add a copy of the Mitsurugi Ritual. We're going to activate the Mitsurugi Ritual, and we're going to special summon Habakiri. We're going to summon it to this zone specifically. We're going to tribute Kusanagi, we're going to tribute Aramasa, and the way you want to do your chain links here is Kusanagi, chain link 1, adding back the ritual, Aramasa, chain link 2, because if Aramasa gets interrupted, it's not the end of the world, whereas the ritual spell not coming back to your hand probably is the end of the world. You don't really need to worry so much either about the Aramasa, because if they had Ash, they would have ashed the Habakiri. Nobody in their right mind holds Ash when Habakiri is revealed. Like it just doesn't happen. So we're going to add a copy of Futsu, and even if for whatever reason you're against some kind of psycho who didn't Ash Habakiri, if they then Ash the Aramasa, stopping the foot, it's not really the end of the world. Doesn't matter too much. Anyway, we're going to ritual summon again, summoning the Murakumo, tributing the Habakiri. We're going to activate its trigger effect, searching for mirror, and then special summon in itself. Again, pay attention to the zones. We're going to activate the mirror to summon the Futsu by tributing the Murakumo. I absolutely hate these names, I won't lie. Then we're going to activate its trigger effect, searching for... I'll grab Purification just to show you that you can get Purification at this point and still get the prayers back later anyway. And we're going to special summon the card. So already we have an Omni Negate and a board wipe. We're going to turn these two into Reprodicus. The reason we do it like this is because the Habakiri being banished doesn't really matter so much compared to these two. This being banished doesn't matter so much either, but the Murakumo being banished would of course be very, very bad. We want this in our graveyard. So now what we do is we activate the effect of Reprodicus. He's so getting banned one day. We're going to turn our Habakiri into a spellcaster, and we're going to go Demod. Now, the zones matter because we are going to be doing a cross sheet play later, but even though the cross sheet play is later, you should be in the habit of placing things in the right zones so that if something gets interrupted, or if you have to kind of make a bit of a detour and do something different because of a hand trap we weren't expecting, it's just good to be in the habit of making sure that your fusions are in a cross sheet zone, even if that specific fusion isn't necessarily planned to trigger cross sheet, if that makes sense. So we're going to activate the trigger effect of Demod. We play Illusion of Chaos, because Illusion of Chaos can fix certain hands, where maybe you've opened a Mitsurugi Mirror, you've opened both copies of Mind Shuffle, etc. We don't need to fix our hand though, so we're going to get Magician's Souls, because what you would do is you would grab the Illusion of Chaos and use that to search the Magician's Souls anyway, except then, rather than putting the Illusion of Chaos back into the deck, you would put the Garnet back into the deck. It does actually come up sometimes. We're going to activate the Magician's Souls, pitching a Diabellstar, and we're going to special summon the Magician's Souls. Now what we'll do is we will turn Magician's Souls into a Relinquished Anima, because we do need a Link 1 in rotation, and this is a good time to do it. Relinquished Anima is a spellcaster, which is relevant because we can go Selene, Link 3, and would you believe it, we've got 3 spells in graveyard. We're going to activate the effect of Selene, removing 3 counters to special summon the Diabellstar. So if you noticed, we've bridged into our Azamina engine without having to use Xena or the Fireball Dragon. Now we will do that later, but structuring things like this and sequencing things like this means we get to do 2 separate bridges as part of the same combo. We will activate the effect, getting a copy of Deception, activate Deception, pitching a blank to get ourselves a copy of the Hallowed Azamina, activate the Hallowed Azamina. Now at this point, they won't know if you've got Nib. Sorry, they won't know necessarily that you're going for Sylvia. You could be nibbed at this point, which wouldn't be great. So if you wanted to play a bit safer, rather than searching the Purification, you would instead be searching another copy of Prayers for your opponent's turn to set up the Murakumo board wipe. No one's really on Nib though in this current format. I still haven't been nibbed once in this whole format, which of course means I will be hit with Nibiru the next game that I play. But anyway, we're going to go for Rasiliago because I'm showing you the greedy version. Summon the Rasiliago, adding to hand a copy of Wanted. The Wanted matters, even though we've already got the Witch in rotation. We also can add back the Hallowed Azamina later, of course. So the way we're going to do things from here is we're going to set up our bridge into our Rolad engine. We activate the trigger effect and we send a copy of Black Chaos. Now we're going to turn those 2 into a cross sheep. We're going to add back the Hallowed Azamina by putting the Rasiliago back into the deck, and then you go Chainlink 1, Hallowed Azamina, Chainlink 2, Wanted. I love that interaction. Add an additional copy of the Witch, which is relevant. So we send the Wanted, summon Ilia Sylvia, triggering our cross sheep, adding back. Honestly, it just doesn't really matter what we add back. Now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go into a Protect Code Talker. And then we will turn those into a Fireball Dragon. Now we will bring back the Protect Code Talker, banishing the Anima, banishing either the Cross Sheep or the Riprodicus. It really doesn't matter which. And now we have a co-linked Firewall Dragon, who's going to add back our Black Chaos. So we've bridged into both engines. Now at this point you might be thinking, well that's fine, but where's our Mitsurugi? Where's our Azamina? We've got rid of it. Now you turn these into another card that's going to be banned one day. And we activate the Charmer Quartet, bringing back the Ilia Sylvia, bringing back the Murakumo. There we go, it's like nothing happened. Pay attention to the zones, because what you don't want to do is block up your link zones, because if you do play IP Masquerena, if you do want to make yourself a Little Knight, etc., these zones, obviously, are important. So just make sure you're paying attention to that zone placement. Now from here, we can send our Black Chaos to the graveyard to get a Mind Shuffle, activate the Mind Shuffle. Mind Shuffle sends Skull Arch Fiend of Chaos, pitching Skull Arch Fiend of Chaos, trigger effect to dump the Ritual, adding to hand the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos. Now we use our Ritual spell, adding itself back, but we add back Black Chaos. Just follow up to clean up any board they might have left after they've tried breaking your board. Just look at how many cards we've got in our hand, by the way. It's just silly. What we can do from here is, of course, get another draw, right? Why not? You wouldn't do this yet. I've stacked the deck so that we draw another piece of non-engine. You would wait until you've finished comboing, basically seeing your deck as much as you can. Then you get your additional draw, but I just wanted to show you that now so we don't forget. Activate the Ritual of Light and Darkness, special summoning the Black Chaos by banishing the D-Mod, which we no longer need. He wasn't special summoned properly anyway, so never mind that guy. As Dark Chaos hits the field, we activate the trigger effect, returning the Mitsurugi Prayers. So now we've got Purification, we've got Prayers, we've got the Murakumo, we've got the Ilia Sylvia, so 2 negates, we've got the Mind Shuffle. We don't yet have access to the Blackluster Soldier, but we're going to get access to it in a way that's a little bit tricksy. You're going to like this. And from here, if you wanted to, you could special summon the Skull Arch Fiend of Chaos. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you've drawn into a Charmy that you don't need, which you probably will have. Normal summon one of your Charmies. You haven't even normal summoned yet, by the way. So if you did draw into your Celtic Guardian, you can obviously normal summon your Celtic Guardian at this point. If you don't have a way to do that, then you don't have to do this. I'm showing you what's possible. Now we special summon the Skull Archfiend by shuffling back the Light and Darkness Ritual, and then the other cards, it doesn't really matter. So you can shuffle back whatever you think you might need. So let's say, for example, the Habakiri and the D-Mod, nice targets to shuffle back into the deck. Because now, when we summon our Skull Archfiend of Chaos, we can turn both of those into an SP Little Knight. And just from starting with Mitsurugi Prayers, which we didn't get to activate as part of our combo, remember, we've gone into all 3 engines. We've got 2 Omni-Negates. We've got the board wipe with the Murakumo, the hand rip with the Murakumo. We've got an SP Little Knight. We've got our Rolad stuff set up. And when you look at our graveyard, it's absolutely stacked full of interaction and full of follow-up, rather. So if our opponent doesn't kill us on their second turn, good luck by the way, then our crackback is just lethal, even if they completely break our board. And as they pass turn, we've got nothing on the board, but we still have everything we had in graveyard. It's just an absolutely lethal crackback. Let me show you how you play this out on your opponent's turn to just get the maximum amount of value from your Mind Shuffle interaction. So we go into our end phase, and what we do is we activate the Mind Shuffle. We add the other Skull Archfiend of Chaos, but you don't pitch Skull Archfiend of Chaos, you pitch Black Witch. Trigger effect to special summon itself by pitching a card. You pitch the Skull Archfiend of Chaos here, and now you get the Black Witch, special summon. And like I talked about in the deck, I actually right-clicked there by mistake. I'm not going to re-record this. So what you would do is you'd say, yes, I do have an effect to activate. And you go Chainlink 1, Skull Archfiend of Chaos. Chainlink 2, Diabellstar the Black Witch. So Diabellstar sets a Deception, another piece of follow-up. Skull Archery of Chaos searches the Blackluster Soldier, so you've got your Banish. And the reason that's so relevant is because you've now got an additional level 7 or higher body for the Mind Shuffle shenanigans, which is nice. So that's how you would play that out in terms of getting your Blackluster Soldier into rotation. And you got all of this, plus a Blackluster Soldier and a Deception or a Wanted, right? You got all of this from one card. And it wasn't even the best habakiri starter. It wasn't even the best Mitsurugi starter. Because if you start with habakiri, or if you start with pre-prep, it's even better than what I've just showed you. It's even easier, even more bodies, etc. Let me show you how we can start with Diabellstar and do something similar to what I've just showed you there. In the interest of keeping this video a bit shorter, I'll show you how the bridge works for Diabellstar, and then you can use your imagination, to be honest, and just completely freestyle. Because you can basically do anything you want to. Any engine piece that you draw can just get you to anything that you want. Because the ability to spam silly amounts of bodies onto the board, combined with the fact that all the engines all bridge into each other, it just plays out so nicely in this deck. We're going to activate the trigger effect, we're going to get the Deception, we're going to activate the Deception, we're going to pitch a blank, we're going to get Azamina, we're going to activate the Azamina, we're going to use that to summon the Yugioh. We'll use the trigger effect to add a copy of Wanted, go into a demod, grab the Magician's Souls, turn these two into a cross sheep, activate the Souls. Souls is going to pitch Black Chaos, because obviously we don't need to combo into our Azamina engine, we already opened it, so we pitch the Black Chaos instead this time. We special summon the Souls, and then we're going to link that Souls off for an Anima to get it into the graveyard, and to give us the link one we need for the Protect Code Talker shenanigans. Now we can add back the Hallowed Azamina by shuffling back the Yugioh, activate the Hallowed, activate the Wanted as Chainlink 2, getting us an additional copy of Diabellstar, which, as I showed you, was relevant for during your opponent's turn. Don't just search Blackluster Soldier straight off the rip. It's not as good as doing what I've showed you. Instead, you go for the Ilia Sylvia now, because we already had the Yugioh. So we go for the Ilia Sylvia, triggering the cross sheep, bringing back the Souls, or bringing back, could be a Charmy, doesn't really matter, because what does matter is that we've got our bodies now. So we go into our Protect Code Talker, 3+1 into our Firewall Dragon, activating Protect Code Talker now to banish the Anima, banish the sheep, to special summon itself, and we use Firewall Dragon to get a copy of Black Chaos. So even if we start with Diabellstar, we still get to combo into everything. What you can do from here is pitch the Black Chaos to get you the Mind Shuffle, activate the Mind Shuffle adds Skull Archfiend of Chaos, pitches Skull Archfiend of Chaos, using its trigger effect to, now you could go into Light and Darkness Ritual, but you could also just dump the mirror to add Habakiri. And so you've still got your Omni Negate on the field, you've still got everything you need to go into the Link 5, the Zena card, you've got Habakiri in hand, which, as we know, can do whatever it wants, because that's how the card works. And this is another way we can use Diabellstar to just do everything, basically. Let me show you how you can start with Griffo or Black Chaos and still get access to absolutely everything. Just so you understand the concept and the bridge, rather than showing you each and every combo, because honestly, that would be a 3-hour video for this particular deck. So how do we start with Griffo or Black Chaos? Could be either. If you start with Griffo or you start with Black Chaos, you still get everything, and that's just how the deck works. Griffo is better because it does beat Ghost Ogre and it does beat Droll to an extent, because we can use Griffo in the main. We can use Griffo before the main. They will still hit us with a Droll once we start playing in the main, but we've at least done something before getting hit with Droll, whereas Black Chaos loses to Droll and Ghost Ogre. So Griffo is the better of the two cards, as a starter at least. Black Chaos is a fantastic board breaker. Such a good card, becomes second. Anyway, we're going to activate Griffo. We set the Mind Shuffle. We're going to activate the Mind Shuffle, adding a copy of Skull Archfiend, sending Skull Archfiend, triggering Skull Archfiend. Now you could just go for the mirror and get yourself a habakiri in the draw phase, but I think we understand well enough by now that habakiri is broken and does whatever it wants. So let's show you something different for the sake of helping you understand that all the engines really do bridge into all of the engines. They can all just bridge into each other. We're going to get the Light and Darkness Ritual dumped to the graveyard and add the Magician of Black Chaos. Now you go Light and Darkness Ritual, adding back the Griffo. Normal summon the Griffo. Shout outs to Kevin Gayo, because that was the first time I saw the normal summon Griffo tech. But it does make sense. I like it a lot, because now you turn Griffo into Relinquished Anima. Ritual summon by banishing the Griffo, which is now in graveyard. Trigger effect of the Black Chaos to add back the Light and Darkness Ritual. We turn this guy into this guy, triggering to search this guy. And now we special summon our Magician's Souls, sending Diabellstar to the graveyard. Activate Magician's Souls, pitching Light and Darkness Ritual to get a draw. This is actually mandatory, because now what you can do is you can turn Souls plus Anima into Cross Sheep, and you can trigger Skull Archfiend of Chaos, being very, very careful, by the way, what it is you send back to your deck, and don't send back to your deck, because we can go Magician of Black Chaos, we can go not Diabellstar, because we want Diabellstar, don't we? We want to bridge into Diabellstar. Not Anima, because you need the link 1. And so what we can do is shuffle back Light and Darkness Ritual, shuffle back the Griffo. So you just double check that to make sure before you shuffle them back, because if you shuffle back the wrong thing, your combo doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because now, as we summon Skull Archfiend, it will trigger the Cross Sheep, special summoning the Magician's Souls. So if you shuffle back the Magician's Souls, you're missing a body. And we have already normal summoned to get to this point. So that bit there, when you shuffle it back, you need to be really careful. Because there's been times where I've shuffled back the wrong thing and completely bricked myself. But now, and you're probably familiar enough with this line at this point, you go into the Protect code, you go into the Firewall, activate the Protect code in Graveyard, Anima plus Cross Sheep. Thank God we didn't shuffle that back, right? You understand now? And we can use the Firewall to add back the Diabellstar. You'd love to see it. Special summon the Diabellstar to set the Deception effect. You understand now, right? You can start with a Griffo. You can start with a Ragged Record of Rights. You can start with a Black Chaos. You can start with literally anything and get to literally anything. Like that. That's how the deck works. So I've showed you how we can start with Azamina, combo into everything. I've showed you how we can start with Mitsurugi and combo into everything. I've showed you how we can start with Rolad and combo into whatever we want to combo into. And all 3 of those combos I've just showed you is what happens when we only open to 1 engine card. Now bear in mind, we are playing a very heavy engine deck. So imagine the possibilities if we open 2 engine cards, or let's get carried away, 3 engine cards, why not? And because we're playing 3 different engines, we're not hit with a cap of how many once per turn effects we have in our deck. I mean, we are, because every deck is. But if one particular route just gets closed off, you can just go a different way. And you're not then hitting a wall where you've already activated all of your once per turns. Because we've got so many different once per turns in our deck, there's almost always a different way we can take things and just carry on playing the game. Let me give you my kind of final thoughts on some of the changes you might want to make before trying this out for yourself. And I do encourage you to do so. I genuinely think this is brilliant. So just to close things off, the deck is a very combo heavy deck that can switch to a low to the ground control style whenever it wants to. It puts up FTKs coming first. It can FTK go in second because it's fantastic at chewing through boards. It can be a link climb deck, it can be a control grinded deck, it can be a ritual deck, it can be an FTK deck, it can be a blind second deck. You wouldn't actually ever go blind second, but it feels like a blind second deck sometimes with how good it is at breaking boards just using engine. Some of the changes you could make if you wanted to, and I wouldn't change much, I'll be honest. What you could do is add additional copies of Aramasa. You could throw in a Foolish Burial, because Foolish Burial can send Skull Archfiend of Chaos, which searches Habakiri or the Black Chaos. So it's another one of those cards, like these 6 here, which can grab what you need it to grab. So rather than being a redundancy, an additional starter that grabs the same thing as what you've already got, if you opened up Ragged Record plus Foolish Burial, you could go Ragged Record, search Habakiri, Foolish Burial, sends the Skull Archfiend to get you the Black Chaos, right? It's got that flexibility and that versatility as a starter, which, to be fair, all of these cards do. They all get you everything. And hopefully by now you understand how they all get you everything. So you could bump up the Aramasa to 3 if you wanted to, drop the Celtic Mystic, Deception, bump that up to a 3, add the Foolish Burial, and then you are at 30 out of 60 for really high quality starters. And they are super versatile, super flexible, because they all get you everything. So if you were concerned about consistency in the 60 card list, bump that up to 30. I don't think that's necessarily needed. You could probably maybe put it up to 28 if you still wanted to leave room for engine requirements and non-engine. There's arguments for things like Black Chaos. Do you really need 3? Right? It's a starter, but it's not as good as the Griffo. There's arguments for things like Light and Darkness Ritual or Skull Archfiend of Chaos. Maybe drop those to 1 to make room for more non-engine. But honestly, I like it as it is. I like these ratios. You just always feel like you've got that one extra push. You just always feel like that's that one extra thing you can be doing. Whereas in testing, when these cards were at 1, there were times where I actually wished I had 2. If you were playing a 40 card list, these would be at 1, absolutely. But in this 60 card gas for days, don't stop pushing build, 2 of each feels nice. And then the non-engine, maybe you could take out the Ashes, side them in for going first only if you wanted to. The Droll and the Charmies, I think, realistically, you're leaving those in. You're not going to try and play a traditional hand trap build. You're not going to start playing Imperm and Veiler in a deck like this. You play the Floodgates, basically. You play the cards where if they resolve, it absolutely has an impact of some kind on their end board. Whereas if you go second and the only hand trap you open is Ash, save it for your turn. It's not going to do anything. Ash during your opponent's turn, when you've gone second and it's the only hand trap in your hand, it just doesn't do anything. It basically reads, make talents life, that's all it does. Whereas these will actually have some kind of impact on their end board. Even if their decks can play around these cards to some extent, it will still have an impact of some kind, whereas Ash won't. So maybe you could put Ashes into the side deck for going first only, if you wanted to put more starters into your deck without taking out some of those engine pieces we talked about. So you could take out the 3 Ash, put them in your side deck, bump this up to 29 high quality starters, keeping in the Celtic Mystic, which, let's face it, in a deck like this, if you resolve Celtic Mystic and draw 3 cards, there's no way you don't draw into one of these, right? So that's another way of looking at it if you wanted to basically put Ash in the side as an additional copy of Called By. Obviously, you don't have to play Cross Out, but you should, because Droll is a nightmare. But we can play around Droll. If we open Griffo, there's things we can do. So it's not the end of the world if they open Droll, but it's not ideal either. These 60 card decks, they do suffer when Droll is in format, so something to think about there. I personally would be on Cross Out and Call By for that reason. Fubulos doesn't do much into this deck, to be honest. If you get hit with a Fubulos, instead of doing all the link climbing stuff, you just do the ritual stuff instead. Pirellia actually hurts a bit more in certain instances, but again, we've got the Ashes, we've got the Called By, we've got the Cross Out, etc. For going second, the only real weakness for going second is if they open Droll and you're trying to, you get Drolled when you start trying to break the board, but most decks would fold at that point, let's face it. Or if they end on a Spell Canceller or something like that. We do play quite a lot of green cards, very important in our deck, and so that's why you need the Kaijus. There's even an argument for playing 3 and 3 Kaijus, just to make sure you definitely draw one of them, or you resolve a Charmy and draw into the Kaiju, because if you resolve sphere mode and take care of three main threats on their board, we don't need our normal summon. The Griffo tech that needs a normal summon, but we can just play forever without normal summoning anyway. So I think the kaijus are very important for when people try and put up these spell canceller FTK style decks. If you're against a Doom Z and they end on the full Doom Z combo with the mistaken arrest trap, with spell canceller on the field as well, one sphere mode just ends it, right? It's not a very layered board. They just put it all out there right from the off. One sphere mode or one lava golem takes care of the main threats, and you just OTK them with your absolutely ridiculously strong engine. Take it for a spin before you judge it. Don't just jump to the comments to tell me this will never work, this is rubbish. Because when I put it together, I underestimated it. That's why I called it. This is what I called it, by the way, when I first started making it, Ritual Schmitual. And I didn't expect it to be as good as this. Take it for a spin before you judge it. I almost guarantee, because some people just don't like 60 card decks as a rule, you will love it though. It genuinely feels so, so strong to play. Amazing going first, amazing going second, and this for me is by far my favourite way, and in my view, the best way of playing Rolad in this particular format. Anyway,